Zikoko, Eyewitness News.
Let's stay in the courts. The man accused of torching the hijacked Usindiso building in Marshalltown in 2023 has altered his version of events, now claiming he has no idea how the fire started. This contradicts his two previous confessions in which he admits to using petrol to start the blaze, which killed 76 people. Sthembiso Mdlalose is on trial in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, facing multiple counts of murder, attempted murder, as well as arson. Alfara Mushwana is in court.
Sthembiso Mdlalose previously confessed to both the Commission of Inquiry set up to probe the fire and a court magistrate that he started the deadly inferno. His attempt to retract the confession was rejected in court after he argued that he had been under the influence of drugs and acting under duress when he admitted to the crime. Mdlalose presented a new version of events in court today, claiming he was hanging out with friends when he noticed the building was on fire.
We were just sitting around with other guys.
But what
we heard people screaming.
And
then we tried to get out of the place through the door.
This directly contradicts his earlier confession in which he admitted to igniting the fire on the ground floor of the building to cover up a murder he had committed. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Palm Ridge.
We shift our focus to this now. Police in KwaZulu-Natal have shot and killed a suspected cop killer in the Kwangcolosi area of Durban today. Officers are now concluding investigations at the crime scene. It's believed he was wanted for a number of murders, including that of a police officer. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Police say the deceased was wanted for a total of 7 murders. He is alleged to have killed a police officer, Constable Mnqobi Shange, who was shot and killed back in 2023. Officers say they moved in this morning to make an arrest, but a shootout ensued and the suspect was killed. They say 2 firearms were recovered from the scene. One was licensed and the other was declared illegal. The family of the deceased is on the scene and are yet to comment on what took place. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, KwaNcolosi.
Tshwane Mayor Nasiphi Moya says the city is on track to hit its investment and growth targets as the Tshwane Investment Summit kicks off today. Moya was speaking at the inaugural Investment Summit in Menlyn, where she is joined by officials, Gauteng Finance MEC Relebogile Mabotja, as well as investors. Moya hopes to pull an ambitious 5 billion rand worth of investment by the end of this year. The plans include reviving underperforming assets, including the Rooiwal Power Plant, Wonderboom Airport and the troubled fresh produce market. She says investment into the city will assist with revenue targets as well as service delivery plans.
These reforms are about building predictability, ensuring policy certainty, and giving investors the confidence that Tshwane is open for business.
Moya says incentives are on the table to sweeten the deal for investors.
Taken together, these enables show that Tshwane is serious about creating the right environment for investment. The assets are ready, the systems are improving, and the incentives are in place. What is needed now is partnership.
And an Israeli-Russian researcher has been released after being held captive since March of 2023. Turkov was delivered to the U.S. Embassy, where she was reunited with her relatives. In a post on Truth Social, U.S. President Donald Trump says Elizabeth Turkov was released by the Hezbollah group. The group is a powerful Iraqi militia that gets financial and military support from Iran. The United States declared it a terrorist organization in 2009. Gold is trading at $3,647.86 an ounce. The rand is at 17.56 to the dollar, 23.77 to the pound, 20.56 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $66.97 a barrel.
In the Devland area heading towards El Dorado Park, we still have those roadworks causing heavy delays on the Golden Highway. This is between Union Avenue and the N1. In the Melrose area, also traffic is a bit sluggish. This is on Glenhove Road between Oxford and the M1 due to ongoing roadworks.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: the 7 Chinese nationals convicted on 160 charges, including human trafficking, have each been sentenced to 20 years in prison.
EWN In Touch.
in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide.
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Wednesday, the 10th of September, which also happens to be World Suicide Prevention Day. Now, we are going to take the time to have a conversation around this, and I want to hear from all of you, specifically also around coping mechanisms, and we'll get into it. Our finance feature, we're talking balancing business growth with personal financial success, which is such a difficult thing. Anybody who owns a business, you know where you are personally, you're going to struggle because you pour absolutely everything into that business of yours. Rory Bratchner, founder of Dosh Guide, will join us for that conversation. Then Masterclass, we are talking about protecting your wealth with Standard Bank Private, and we'll be joined by Ethan Sherto, head of digital fraud at Standard Bank, as we have that conversation. So get in touch with us. 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Yesterday, we watched online, in particular, one of the people I was following, Khomotso Modise, our very own from EWN. Make sure you follow her on TikTok for real-time matters in the courts and also just big news stories. But I followed as she was sharing the story of what was happening with a hostage situation by a police constable. Now, I recall yesterday stumbling upon it, and the first thing that came to mind, the very first thing about a hostage situation, the first thing that came to mind was, police officers and their mental health. That was the first thing that came to mind. And at the time, I didn't understand the dynamics of who was in the house with this particular hostage situation. And in this hostage situation, it was a 32-year-old police constable, Thapelo Mashego, where we then later found out that he had held his mother and nephew hostage for 16 hours in their Mamelodi home in the east of Pretoria. Now, as the story was unfolding, police negotiators were having discussions with this man. Now, I'm going to share from how I heard the story to where we find ourselves today. So the first thing that crossed my mind was, the mental health of police officers. And I didn't in any way think it was family issues. I actually thought maybe it was financial issues. If I'm honest with you, I thought to myself, maybe these are financial issues, because if the family is being held hostage, there's a lot of pressure for many people. And for some people, and this is in no way me saying it is correct or should be supported, but for some people, when the finances are in shambles for whatever reason, that looks like an option to go out where you don't only take your own life, but you take the lives of people who are dependent on you. Then as this story was unfolding, I was so heartbroken when I saw this morning when I woke up at around 4 a.m. that, the man had not only taken his own life, but that one of the other hostages, the 18-year-old nephew, his body was found with a bullet wound on it. And we can only assume exactly what went down in that house. But it being International Suicide Prevention Day or World Suicide Prevention Day, I did and I do think we truly have to take moments like this to pause and talk and connect. Life is difficult for many people, folks, outside of what the circumstances are, because I'm sure we're all wondering why. Isn't that the first thing you always wonder? If somebody allegedly takes their own life, we're always going to wonder, but why? And we're going to, on top of that, not just wonder, we're going to expect a reason that is valid. But when you're not in a dark hole, there's not a single reason that might be valid enough for you. There are many people I've spoken to who have said to me, taking your own life is selfish. It's a cop-out. It's the easy way out. These are things that have been said time and time again, including when public figures have passed on by taking their own lives. Well, they'll say things like, you're weak, you're this. All of these things are said. Now, when we ask ourselves why, and this is the part that I want us to take a moment with, is the understanding that when we look at the world, like I'm sitting in a studio which is branded blue and red, right? I'm sitting in the studio looking at a whole space branded blue and red. Now, I know, especially from what has been shared with me, the experience of what the darkness of life can feel like is that these colors will not look like the blue and red. And not just the colors visually, but the life experience no longer is in color. It might not even be in black and white. It might be different shades of gray. You might not even be able to see the outline. There's a big sign in studio that's neon that says Mic Live. And it's bright red for us to all know, and for anybody coming into studio to know we are live. The reason I am sharing this is to say we are very quick as people, yes, it is human nature, to jump and judge, because I, as Relebogile, can see it says Mic Live in red. It's not blurry, it's not anything. I can see it. I can see the clock. I can see exactly how many seconds are sitting on that clock. So I can hear the circumstances maybe of what happened in that house or any other house where somebody has taken their life and say, for that. Right? There's a reason that can be given that for me, from my perspective, might not seem reason enough to take one's own life. But when you are in a dark place, when you are having suicidal thoughts, when you are in the deepest of depression, if that is what is happening, because we can't assume. For all we know, the person was having a psychotic break. We don't know what was happening. But I am prefacing this conversation with saying, I hope we can be careful in situations where people take their own lives, or try to take their own lives, or even think about taking their own lives, to just for a moment consider the fact that to that person, the blue in front of me is not blue and the red in front of me is not red. Because that can impact how you see the world, how you experience the world. We don't know what happened, but I hope we can use this as an opportunity to have that difficult conversation again about taking one's own life or wanting to take one's own life. There are people who will have, what do they call it, suicidal ideations. I have had times in my life, I remember maybe when I was in my early 20s, where the words that came to my head, like I didn't do something about it, but the words that came to my head were like, wouldn't it be easier actually if I just didn't wake up tomorrow? Like that thought where you say to yourself, wait a king, if I didn't have to wake up tomorrow, things would just be easier. Can you imagine starting there and where that thought can go to in your mind? So I want to hear from all of you, and please feel free to be fully anonymous. In your dark moments, what has really pulled you out? In your dark moments, what has not helped you? In your dark moments, which might be present tense, what can you share with all of us so that we can be a little bit considerate of one another? I am heartbroken for everybody involved in this situation with this police officer, not knowing a single thing about him. Like, I'm so heart sore. And I was chatting now to my colleagues in studio to say, if for 16 hours somebody was being talked down, I don't know if that's the correct term, where they say they're talking you down or trying to convince you to not do whatever it is you're threatening to do, and respect to the people that have to do that job. Can you imagine the team that was sitting for 16 hours trying to save everybody's life in this picture, how they must feel today? Can you imagine? Can you imagine how those people must feel today when their job was to salvage? And you don't need to know what it would look like in South Africa. We see it all the time in films where the only job is to keep people alive, whether they're guilty of something or not, is to keep them alive. But share with us, especially if you've been there on this World Suicide Prevention Day. And I will, as I always do, share the details with you for Lifeline and SADAG. These things are painful for all of us as a community. They are heartbreaking. They are absolutely heartbreaking. At the end of the day, that 18-year-old, that 32-year-old, all of the people are going to be extremely traumatized. And there still is a stigma that comes with a person losing their life because they lost a battle to depression or they took their own lives. And maybe share with us in a voice note, when you are in that deep, dark place, entertaining thoughts of taking your own life, why does that feel like the option for you? Why does that feel like, in inverted commas, the best way out? Because doing it is a whole nother thing, but thinking about it is also something else. So I want to hear from you. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners. And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Join us at Summer Place in Hyde Park because AV Josie 2025 is back where creativity and technology meet. And this is in Hyde Park, Johannesburg from the 13th to the 14th of September for cutting-edge masterclasses, workshops, live demos in film, animation, VFX, AI, gaming, and interactive tech. This year's theme, Heart of Steel, celebrates bold creators striving in the age of AI and disruption. Expect local and international experts to share their knowledge in workshops, tech showcases, game jams, portfolio reviews, and interactive sessions too. And it's completely free. Register now at avijosie.com.
Medical care, like music, needs continuity, a steady rhythm and pattern. Patients attended to on time. Medication taken as prescribed. Cut the rhythm, and it falls apart. Right now, global funding cuts are restricting access to healthcare. With your support, Doctors Without Borders can continue to provide medical care to communities worldwide. Because medicine, like music, only works when uninterrupted. Doctors Without Borders, we go there.
Could I courier this toy carrot that my son glued his baby teeth onto?
For sure. We're your guy.
How about a strip of slightly used duct tape?
Yeah, we're your guy.
And this spoiler for my quantum.
Chief, we're your guy. With over 4,000 fast and flexible ways of couriering your parcel, locally and internationally, whatever you need couriered, we're your guy. The Courier Guy. Visit thecourierguy.co.za.
702 and corporates that care with Ekwele are talking about Ekwele's commitment to uplifting communities across South Africa.
From Ekwele's side, we get a lot of requests for water. I think that access to clean drinking and safe water has become a daily challenge for many people. So we get a lot of requests. We really deliver hundreds and thousands of bottles every year. Recently, we saw a need for a more longer-term solution, more sustainable water solutions. When we turned 25, we delivered 25 water tanks to 25 communities all over South Africa. And it was really heartwarming to see what a difference a tank can make. The first tank we put up was at a school in Groudeville and KwaZulu-Natal, and the principal told us now they don't need to close their school anymore because sometimes they had to close school early because they didn't have water.
Ekwele, making a positive impact one drop at a time. Learn more at ekwele.co.za. 702, let's walk the talk.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
24 minutes after 1 o'clock, it is World Suicide Prevention Day. And on this World Suicide Prevention Day, I just want to give us space, man, to talk, have real conversations about what can happen with mental health. That sometimes it looks extremely functional as well. It doesn't always look like somebody not getting out of bed, not bathing, not doing all of these things. Sometimes it can look like a person that is absolutely crushed on the inside, but you can't even tell. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Mamelo in Santon, hi.
Hi, how are you, Relebogile?
I'm okay, and you?
I'm good. Thank you for this topic. I think it's not spoken about enough. I'm somebody that attempted suicide when I was much younger. And the biggest reason I attempted, and it was a few attempts, I felt like I was a burden. I couldn't explain what I was feeling at the time, and I couldn't put it into words towards my family to explain to them that it's not a specific thing that is causing me to be this unhappy and this hopeless. So I felt like if I had removed myself from the situation, my family would have been better off without me.
And, you know, I want to pause that specific thing you said. And I hope for all the clinical psychologists, psychiatrists listening, I know that one of the questions that get asked in, when they're doing mental health checks is that specifically as if you feel like the world would be better off, or your family or your loved ones, without you. So what took you out of that dark place, Mamelo?
It was a lot of things, and I can't just say it was one, because it takes so much for you to actually find yourself in a place where you start thinking differently, because depression doesn't go away through therapy. So therapy did help, speaking about it in group settings, being able to realize that you're not having a unique experience. And I think one of the things that my therapist used to say is that your experience is not unique to you. Yes, you might think that you are alone and you are the only person that feels that way, but there are people that are having the same experience as you. And if you speak to them, which is why group therapy for me was so important, speaking to them might help you not necessarily find a solution to your problems, but to realize that it's not something that only you are going through. And it does help lighten the load, and be able to speak about it and to communicate with other people that are like-minded and in better situations than you, like therapists, really does help make you realize that the situation is dire, yes, but working your way through it in steps helps you get yourself to a better position and a better frame of mind. So the depression still is there, but it does lighten the load.
And I'm glad you're sharing that it is still there. So how are you coping in your day-to-day management of your depression, and how have you equipped yourself for the rough patches? Because any day,
they just come.
Yeah, it can come in waves at any time. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's multifaceted. The biggest one for me is sports. I got myself involved. I've always been sporty in school, but as an adult, I've found doing sports, especially sports that doesn't encourage aloneness. So things that foster community. I'm a cyclist, so I am around people quite a lot. I just came back from a tour that, we cycled from KZN to Joburg. So you get to interact with people, and it feeds into your soul. There's so much healing in connection. And I think one of the biggest things that depression does is it gets worse through isolation. So I make sure that I'm not isolated. I make sure, because I am an introvert, so I'm extroverted, but I love being alone. And if I'm alone too much, I can get in my own head and get into that rut where you start thinking to yourself, you start dwelling on things that are going to cause you to fall deeper and deeper into that depression. But it's exercise. Exercise obviously induces endorphins. Having a good, strong support system, being able to express yourself freely without having to worry about people thinking that you are a burden. So the right friends really makes a huge difference. Being able to speak to people in support groups. I attend a lot of support meetings. And God, I think for me, my spirituality is something, not necessarily church, but having a relationship with Christ that really helps me stay on the right path.
Mamelo, thank you for sharing, for being open. And I'm glad you're still with us today. And I hope you continue to grow and heal. I see you, Stacey. Samukelo, I see you, Lisa. I see you, and we're going to go to all of you when we come back from the news. Some of your messages. One says, "Hi, Relebogile, realizing you're in a dark place and asking for help is key. I recently did a voluntary admission at a KSO psychiatric hospital. There you see a psychiatrist and a psychologist every day. Months later, we have finally got my medication right. And only now I'm starting to see the light." Anonymous, thank you for sharing. Anonymous, thank you so much. And how amazing that there are places like a KSO and your Crescent Clinic. There's so many facilities. Good day. When I sit with the sorry. Let me try read this again. When I sit with the revolver, already write a letter, I decided to ask my daughter for a number of Lifeline. I call and that helped me. I struggle every day with bipolar disorder. Thank you. There is help. Thank you so much to the person who sent that. I do not take for granted the amount of courage it takes to share, not just that you have tried to take your own life, but that you're still thinking about it, still struggling, and felt okay to reach out. It's just after 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Residents in Westbury are calling for a permanent solution to the area's water crisis. The community has been struggling with intermittent supply for weeks now, with taps running completely dry on some days. Angry residents have again taken to the streets today, blocking roads with rocks and burning tires. Earlier today, police fired rubber bullets to disperse crowds that had gathered for the demonstrations. The man accused of torching the hijacked Usindiso building in Marshalltown in 2023 has altered his version of events, now claiming he has no idea how the fire started. This contradicts his two previous confessions in which he admitted to using petrol to start the blaze that killed 76 people. Stembiso Mdlalose is on trial at the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, facing multiple counts of murder, attempted murder and arson. And police in KZN have shot and killed a suspected cop killer killer in the Kwangcolosi area of Durban today. Officers are now concluding investigations at the crime scene. It's believed he was wanted for a number of murders, including that of a police officer. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour, things not looking too bad and no serious accidents have been reported on our highways at this stage. However, in the Irene area, there's slow-moving traffic. This is on an Almapius Drive approaching Main Road. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in the Edenville area, Motorfontein Road and Van Riebeck. Traffic lights still not working in the Rand Park Ridge area at Beyers, Nordia and the N1, as well as in Midrand at Olifantsfontein Road and Allendale Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
A family secret around the paternity of a child is allegedly at the center of a deadly hostage situation in Pretoria. 32-year-old police constable Tapelo Mashego held his mother and nephew hostage for 16 hours yesterday in their Mamelodi home. He shot his 18-year-old nephew and then turned the gun on himself.
He said he found out that the child he has with his girlfriend is not his, but is his brother's.
EWN. In touch, in tune, and independent.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety and service, Warrior Paints is street ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting, luxury.
So Taryn, you've just graduated cum laude, but nothing says you're a genius quite like selling your car to We Buy Cars.
Absolutely. My car was an 18th birthday present and it's time to move on to something a bit more mature.
So where did you hear about We Buy Cars?
All of my friends are using We Buy Cars. I would have had legit FOMO if I hadn't used them. And it was so quick. I did it on my laptop while sending around my CV.
Smart move, Taryn. Graduated and upgraded. We Buy Cars. Geared for success, geared for you.
Backed by popular demand, legendary jazz icon Kenny G will be performing at the Super Bowl at Sun City on Friday, the 3rd of October. Get ready for an unforgettable night of timeless hits and pure musical magic. Get your tickets from webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by Breakout Events and 702.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
A major move from Anglo and Teck, the two mining companies, agreeing to a merger, they say, on equal terms. They'll be based in Canada. They'll be one of the biggest mining companies in the world. They'll be focusing on copper, iron ore and zinc.
One of the major points that comes out from this is at asset level, there are contiguous assets in Chile that, when put together, make a very sizable operation with good synergies and with growth. And copper is the metal of the day. Everybody's after the growth.
David Mackay, editor at Mining MX.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB, equipping you with efficient and secure cash management solutions for your business. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock. It is World Suicide Prevention Day, and on the back of that really painful story that happened in Mamelodi, where a 18-year-old, a mother, and another person was in the house that was held hostage by a constable, 32-year-old police constable who ended up taking his own life, and somebody else also lost their life in that. And I feel like we don't talk about this enough because it is taboo, and also it's not rational. Isn't that the weird thing? Mental health, depression, it doesn't make sense. And that's the part that's confusing, because a person can look at you and say, but you had the money and you had the this. What reason do you have to not be happy? You should be happy. That's the problem. A person can have a chemical imbalance where there isn't a specific reason of why they're not okay. And we as society expect you to have a reason. If we see you not being okay after you just lost your mother, we're going to be understanding. But because now, what is this big thing? Like that's how we are as society. 011-883-0702, the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Lisa in Cape Town, go ahead.
Hi, Relebogile, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
I'm good. I'm so happy that I'm part of the conversation on such an important day.
Yes.
So I actually wanted to share my story. I know you asked what goes into the mind of somebody that is thinking of suicide. So I'm talking as somebody that has attempted before, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And one thing I can share with you and the listeners is one thing that was in my mind in that moment was I was being selfish. It was one moment for me where I actually thought of what I wanted and I could do it. Because most of the times in the mind of somebody that is struggling with depression, you're always worried about what's the next person going to say. How are they going to feel? They're going to be very happy if I'm not here. And you don't think about yourself. And in that moment when you attempt or you finally take your life, it's one thing that you're doing for you.
Sure. That is such an interesting way of looking at it, and I hear you where you say something for you, because there are many people who are feeling like they are doing things for showing up for other people, putting on that smile for other people, and now this act of taking your own life is something you gift yourself. So, Lisa, how were you able to get yourself out of that dark place? Oh, I think we may have lost Lisa there, but thank you so much for your call. Samkelo from Boksburg. Hi, go ahead.
My sister, how are you?
I'm okay, and you?
Wow. I'm a teacher. A departmental head. I'm in my car now. I'm at school. And it started with me with being appointed as a departmental head at the previous school that I worked for. Boksburg High, by the way. So I worked for the school in 2016 to 2020. Then I left and I became an HOD outside. Then fast forward, then there was a post and I applied. By God's grace, I was recommended. So coming back there, I was micromanaged. Hello?
I'm still here. I'm just listening to you. Yes.
So it started with me being micromanaged. I was the first black male departmental head or HOD. Some were the people that I used to work with when I was a PN1, resistance. So in meetings, I would question things, sort of finance. Why are we not getting this? Why am I not getting my office? Why am I not getting parking? Claims when we're submitting for marking. So then it happened that then we went for matric marking towards the end of the year. Then I started to hear things they are saying when I say, you said something to learn us. I'm like, yeah. Then when I came back from matric marking, they said you need to report to the district. So me waiting for the charges or the allegations, then I was shocked. I did say that, but it was taken out of context.
So let me ask you this, Samu,
yes,
so that we can also maximize your time. Are you feeling like you're in a dark place right now?
No. The hearing took. It was supposed to take 3 months. Mine took 8 months. Wait a bit, sir. Yeah, Mine took 8 months, you know, me thinking would I stay alone. Understand that story. Like, these things are fake because they wanted to get rid of me and they tried. So, me being in that place, not knowing, go hearing, yes, now I'm back at school, but another school. But me, I was not challenging management, but questioning things. And get about micromanage, about blotel.
Did you feel, Okari, you wanted to take your own life, Samu?
Several times. I'm busy building a garage. I stay alone. My mom stays in Televisa. So I've got Alpirimes to speak on my other bedroom.
So I'm going to say something to you, Samu. Yeah? Take a deep breath for me. Can you take a deep breath for me?
Yes.
Are you open to us connecting you with someone that can talk to you? Because I also feel like there's a lot that is weighing on you that you want to get off your chest. And I suspect maybe there are people around you that you maybe aren't able to speak
They're not aware. They're not aware. They think I'm fine because, you know, I'm a vague when we fight. So what kept me going when I thought of my daughter turned 4 on the 4th and I turned 35. I'm like, I would lose my career over Maka, especially at the age of 33. So it was draining.
So this is what I want you to do for me, Samu. I want you to stay on the line. Samu, if you did not hear, was saying he's got a Khalipirima in his house, which is poison, basically. Samu, I've put back to our producer because I want to give as many people an opportunity to speak, but also if somebody's in crisis right now, I want to see how we can help. Stacey, you had postnatal depression.
Yes. So my son was born 13 years ago, and I'm an A-type corporate person, and a few factors contributed to my postnatal depression. It's genetics, it's also my personality, and I was waiting for this like cupcake baking mother to come over me and I would be transformed, and it never happened. So my depression actually, it started gradually until I kept on wanting to drive into a tree. And it's something that a lot of people with postnatal depression suffer from, is this, I just want to crash into a tree. And I wanted to drive so badly that my car isn't too damaged, but I'm in hospital so I can just escape my own life. And I kept on wanting to drive into a tree. And ultimately, I ended up in a queso clinic with an amazing psychiatrist, Dr. McGraw. And I realized as well is no amount of positive thinking, gratitude, journaling, any of that will work unless if you have an imbalance of chemicals. And I pictured it as like a spaghetti bowl of chemicals. And if you get the right combination of medication, it's almost like you can even it out. And once your chemicals are balanced and they're stable, then you can start, what am I grateful for, and positive outlook on life and all of that. But no amount of self-positive talk. And also people saying, you've got a healthy baby, you've got, maternity leave, I should be so happy. And it didn't, that's not how I felt. And I kept on saying, everyone was saying, enjoy this, it goes so fast. And I was like, there's no joy in joy. I don't.
And I think that's the most difficult part with postnatal depression is, having a new baby. The whole thing is like everybody's excited and looking at you for your excitement. I have a friend who's absolutely struggled, and she kept saying to herself, "What am I supposed to be feeling?" And I think that is one of the most tricky things with that. Stacey, thank you so much for sharing. Are you in a much better place at the moment?
Yes, actually, my son's 13. I stay on my medication and I see my psychiatrist, Dr. Mulgrew, regularly. And I think for me, I'm an advocate for working moms, A-type people, and postnatal depression, because we don't give enough space to ourselves to acknowledge how difficult it is. And not every mother has this experience, but there are us that really battle with this transition into motherhood, especially if you're in a corporate working environment, and you're happy there, and that's part of who you are, but now you're also this mother, and trying to reconcile the two. And unfortunately, not enough mothers do get the help, and they end up either killing themselves or their babies. At least with me.
Yes.
And that's postnatal psychosis, where you actually end up taking the lives. So
Sure.
at least for me, I could go into a Queso Crescent clinic, and I had a good support system. But we need to acknowledge that it's not easy for a lot of mothers, and that depression, if not identified and just accepted, can lead into a psychosis, which then obviously ends up, somebody loses their life.
Oh, Stacey, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Stacey in Midrand. Rambo from Limpopo, what is happening? Are you okay?
I'm not okay, my sister. Not at all.
Talk to me.
I'm a firstborn in my family. I used to take care of my younger sisters, younger brother, and my mother. But I lost my job last year, November. And since then, my brother is working, my sister is working. But as you know, families are 12 and they tend to my sister, I can go for weeks with kids, and then when you ask your brothers, they'll tell you, we also have our own problems. So, Margaret, and remember, I'm now 42. It's difficult to find where Babu Zunga fell like 35 and stuff. But when you ask them for, guys, okay, give me a piece job to do it your harm and pay me out, my brother, I can't. And it kills me to see the kids getting used to it's fine. Like sometimes I'll sit like over the weekend, my firstborn son, my birthday, and like we didn't buy anything, but I end up sitting there checking my society, and stuff, or if I can take my own life, they'll be left with around 100 and something thousand, along with they can take care of them. And
Rambo, please do something for me. Are you open to us connecting you with somebody that can talk to you? You're open?
I am, because, yes.
Okay, please stay on the line for me. We have run out of time, and I see so many of you who, on the WhatsApp line, on your voice notes, are sharing that you wanted to kill yourself, or you are currently in that space of wanting to take your own life. I'm seeing so many of your messages. I see you. I see you. I see you. Your pain is valid, whatever it is you're going through. I am going to share all of the details of where you can get help, but please also feel free to use our email address, 702afternoons@702.co.za, or we can assist while we're still on air and connect you with the right people. And it'll be time soon again to bring in an expert to chat to all of us.
At the heart of global conversations shaping our future, Africa's voice is more important than ever. As proud lead sponsor of the B20, the Standard Bank Group is honored to showcase the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Because driving Africa's growth isn't just our ambition, it's our purpose. Tune in every Monday from 3 p.m. for the Standard Bank B20 In Brief for key insights and updates around the B20. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
Tata area, take me there.
I'll take you there.
Where the climate control interior cools lovers down.
I'll take you there.
Where the central control console places every decision within reach.
I'll take you there.
where the 360 surround view camera never lets you miss a moment. Whatever there is, wherever there is, let the all-new Tata Harrier take you there. From only 549,900, T's and C's apply. Ta-ta.
702 Finance Feature.
8 minutes to 2 o'clock. This finance feature with me, Relebogile Mabotja, is brought to you by Bonita's Medical Aid for South Africa. In our finance feature for today, we are going to be talking about balancing business growth with personal financial success. And this is a big one, especially if you are an entrepreneur, small business owner. Listen in. We're joined by Rory Bratchner, founder of Dutch Guide. Rory, this is so close to my heart because I know the pains of feeling like you never have your own money because you just keep pouring it into your business.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And great to be here, Lebo. Well, that's exactly it. I mean, it makes sense, when you're an entrepreneur to spend a huge amount of time and energy and effort in your business. But sometimes kind of as we go through that process, we kind of get lost in terms of like, what is the bigger picture here? How is this business serving my broader financial goals?
Oh, and that's such a tough one because for many people, especially your startups or small businesses, it was never about the money at the beginning. You know, somebody decides they want to sell crafts or they want to, start cooking. The finances, yes, you'll think about it from what do I need money? What do I need in terms of things I need to get that require money? But when it comes time for now the books to balance, and I'm talking the personal books with the business books, it's a different story. What have you observed, Rory, are some of the common mistakes that small business owners make when it comes to their financial success with both their business and themselves, especially when many just combine everything?
Well, that's exactly it. So what we've seen working with a lot of entrepreneurs is that they're super busy. Running a business is an assault on everything in your life, your family, trying to kind of balance everything out. Spending time with your family, spending time on business, on your social life. And what tends to happen with business owners and entrepreneurs is that there's a huge amount of time and effort spent on their business, and other aspects of their life, including your personal finances, doesn't get the attention that maybe it needs. And that, to a certain extent, that can kind of keep going for a while. But if you ignore those critical things like your sort of financial well-being, your overall financial well-being for long enough, it can become a big enough problem that actually starts to impact the success of your business. So, getting in control of your personal finances makes you a better business owner ultimately.
So at what point, Rory, which is the difficult part of the conversation for anybody, at what point would you say a person needs to make the call to call it quits in terms of the numbers? Many people already know, you're lucky if the business becomes profitable or if you can start paying yourself within the first 2 years, for example. But what kind of guide do you work with when, do you ever say, listen, if after 5 years your business has made you nothing back, call it quits?
Yeah, I think it can be quite difficult to get perspective, especially if it's something that you're very passionate about and that you really believe in. You also have to sort of ground it in a bit of sort of reality and practicality, So if I think it's about sort of setting goals for yourself and then seeing if you actually achieve those goals, both from a business point of view, but also in terms of the output for your own personal financial well-being. And if you find sort of, consistently you're sort of missing those goals and not getting where you want to be, it might be time to sort of be honest with yourself and decide to sort of step out. Another thing I think is super helpful is just getting perspective from people around you, people you trust, whether that's your therapist or your parents or, a trusted friend, because sometimes when you're in it, getting perspective can be quite difficult.
One of the things that we hear often about the wealthy is that they never actually use their own money. Please tell us what that means and how that actually translates in real life.
Yeah, well, I guess capital is a key ingredient of running a business. If it depends what the shape of the business is, there are businesses that operate, their capital is from revenue, so that's how they actually grow the business quite organically. typically for maybe a smaller business. But there's a lot of businesses out there that they do, in order for them to sort of get off the ground and get moving and move towards a place of sustainability, they do need capital, because at the beginning you don't have enough revenue to sustain the sort of the monthly expenses. So, getting access to capital for business owners is hugely important. Sometimes it can be as simple as just friends and family. Other times it's kind of more formal through like sort of some sort of formal official funding process. But yeah, capital is hugely important.
And I think that's quite a big one, because we do know as well that the other side of the part of never use your own money is investors want to see that you've put something in yourself.
Well, that's it. So I think that you probably are more likely to find an investor if you've got some skin in the game, because investing is a risky business, and there's a lot of sort of formal structures in place like venture funds and sort of angel investor networks. There's lots of places to kind of get funding, but that's a business in itself, and they're going to kind of put their bets on the places that they think they're going to get the best returns. And if you're a business owner who has skin in the game, who's actually put their own sort of funds on the line, that's a good signal to a potential investor. So I think that's a good route to go.
You had, or there was this personal finance for entrepreneurs clinic that was hosted at the Money Summit in Johannesburg on the 9th of September, which was yesterday, and where there were all these certified financial planners that were sharing how to manage personal wealth alongside building a business. I'm curious as to if there is a way we can actually build our personal wealth by treating ourselves like businesses.
Well, that's exactly the message that we sort of get across to the founders and the business owners that we work with. With, as you mentioned, we've got a bunch of personal certified financial planners, or CFPs, who specialize in working with business owners in their personal finances and managing their business, their personal finances, and being strategic about their personal finances. And it's exactly that. They intuitively understand how to be strategic in their business and to set goals and have clear sort of metrics and KPIs that they're measuring, and to have quarterly kind of reviews and annual reviews. But the funny thing is, a lot of times they're not applying that same mindset and that same sort of strategic thinking to their personal finances. So a big part of what we're doing with founder and entrepreneur clients is taking that mindset, which they intuitively understand, and applying it into their personal finances, setting those goals, being strategic, monitoring sort of key metrics, and kind of helping them to move forward in terms of the project of their personal finances.
Final thoughts from your side, Rory, for all of the listeners?
I guess just, there does come a point sometimes, a lot of the stuff you can figure out yourself, you can kind of learn. There's a lot of like content out there on YouTube and podcasts and radio shows. So you can learn about your personal finances and the sort of that subject matter and become better at it and learn, like any subject, learn more about it. But there does come a time when you might need some professional advice, and when you do seek that advice out, I think it's important to just understand the incentives that are at play. If the financial advisor is a salesperson who's distributing products, just be aware of that and understand where that advice is coming from. And I would say also just look into a flat fee financial advisor rather than a sort of commission-based financial advisor, or at least compare those two options, because one is product incentive driven, the other one is kind of more of a consultant who's kind of objectively helping you with your personal finances.
Rory, thank you so much for your time today on this finance feature. And I'll get the care you need when you need it. With Bonitas, the medical aid for South Africa. With strong reserves and financial performance, Bonitas can afford to pay your claims with confidence. Voted the #1 medical aid in the Ask Africa Orange Index, Bonitas offers a wide range of plans tailored to meet your needs. Visit bonitas.co.za and find your plan. T's and C's apply. It's 2:00.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Residents in Westbury are calling for a permanent solution to the area's water crisis. The community has been struggling with intermittent supply for weeks now, with taps running completely dry on some days. Angry residents have again taken to the streets today, blocking roads with rocks and burning tires. Earlier, police fired rubber bullets to disperse crowds that had gathered for the demonstrations. Relebogile Mabotja is there.
Residents in Westbury say their water-related issues are not new, with some saying it's been years since they've had a regular supply of water. The area and nearby communities, including Westdean and Claremont, have had to contend with the water supply cuts in recent weeks. One resident, Walter van der Merwe, says they had no choice but to take to the streets to get the attention of Joburg Water.
A week ago to say that they're going to try and get water to us. They're going to make a plan for us to get water. It was one day. After that one day, it's now nine days without water.
Johannesburg Metro Police are urging motorists to avoid the Westbury area. JMPD spokesperson Xolani Fihla.
The road closures have affected several roads, including major arterial routes such as Fuel Road, Harmony Street, Main Road, Perth Road and Portland Avenue.
There is a heavy police presence in the area and a police helicopter monitoring the scene. Relebogile Mabotja, Eyewitness News, Westbury.
In the courts now, the man accused of torching the hijacked Usindiso building in Marshalltown in 2023 has altered his version of events, now claiming he has no idea how the fire started. This contradicts his two previous confessions in which he admitted to using petrol to start the blaze which killed 76 people. Sthembiso Mdlalose is on trial in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court on multiple counts of murder, attempted murder and arson. Alpha Ramushwana is in court.
Sthembiso Mdlalose previously confessed to both the Commission of Inquiry set up to probe the fire and a court magistrate that he started the deadly inferno. His attempt to retract the confession was rejected in court after he argued that he had been under the influence of drugs and acting under duress when he admitted to the crime. Mdlalose presented a new version of events in court today, claiming he was hanging out with friends when he noticed the building was on fire.
We were just sitting around with other guys.
But
what we heard people screaming. And then we tried to get out of the place through the door.
This directly contradicts his earlier confession in which he admitted to igniting the fire on the ground floor of the building to cover up a murder he had committed. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Palm Ridge.
We move to KZN now, where police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting of a wanted suspect this morning. Officers shot and killed a suspected cop killer in the Kwangcolosi area of Durban today. It's believed he was wanted for a number of murders, including that of a police officer. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Police say the deceased was wanted for a total of 7 murders. He is alleged to have killed a police officer, Constable Mnqobi Shange, who was shot and killed back in 2023. Officers say they moved in this morning to make an arrest, but a shootout ensued and the suspect was killed. They say 2 firearms were recovered from the scene. One was licensed and the other was declared illegal. The family of the deceased is on the scene and are yet to comment on what took place. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Kwangcolosi.
Gauteng traffic authorities have issued several infringement notices to non-compliant public transport operators during the first week of September. This forms part of efforts by the Traffic Inspectorate to bolster efforts to fight criminality in the sector. The provincial government has been on a drive to ensure compliance with road regulations. Transport MEC spokesperson Lisiba Mbia says during the operation, officers made several arrests.
Officers issued over 1,600 manual infringement notices and an additional 1,800 through the unit's e-force gadget. 163 vehicles were issued with discontinue notices for non-compliance with traffic regulations. This includes a total of 136 minibuses found operating without operating licenses.
He says several minibus taxis were fined for unroadworthy vehicles and other infringements.
149 minibuses were discontinued for non-fitness and various unroadworthy transgressions. 384 minibus drivers were found operating without licenses.
And the Chinese government has rejected a bill that would have granted limited rights to same-sex couples whose unions are registered abroad. Nearly 89 legislatures voted against the bill, which government proposed in response to a 2023 top court ruling that ordered the creation of a legal framework for LGBTQI+ couples. Activists say they are disheartened by the move, as it would have been an important step forward in repairing the country's reputation as an international financial hub. Hong Kong does not recognize same-sex marriages. Gold is trading at $3,647.86 an ounce. The rand is at 17.57 to the dollar, 23.76 to the pound, 20.56 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $66.97 a barrel.
In the Melrose area, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's on Glenove Road between Oxford and the M1 due to ongoing roadworks. Look out for those faulty traffic lights in Alex at Marlborough Drive and Far East Bank, as well as in Rand Park Ridge at Bears Nodia and the N1.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, residents in Westbury are calling for a permanent solution to the area's water crisis.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 7:02 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. I can still see some of your messages coming in around mental health. Before we close up the show, I'll share the details of Lifeline and SADAG, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Especially if you were triggered, please remember that these lines are actually toll-free. 0800 567 567. It's that simple. If there's somebody that you'd like to talk to, right now, don't even think about, but it's not going to solve this issue. Let us address the fact that right now, the idea of being alive is a challenge for you on this World Suicide Prevention Day. And we will continue to have these conversations with the relevant experts that come to give support. And thank you to all of you who have been sharing your experiences, your struggles, and for some of you, your triumphs. We continue. Life is difficult, eh? It really, really is tough for many reasons. Coming up in this hour of the show, we have our masterclass together with Standard Bank Private, and we're talking about protecting your wealth. So you see, we've been talking about growing your wealth. Now we need to talk about protecting it, because there are people who it is their full-time career to scam and steal from you. So get your questions ready, as we're going to be joined by our guest Ethan Sherto, Head of Digital Fraud at Standard Bank. 011 8830702, SMS us 31702, tweets at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702
Masterclass.
The Masterclass with me, Relebogile Mabotja, is brought to you by Standard Bank Private, right here on 702. Now, with this being powered by Standard Bank Private, we're going to be exploring what it takes to design a wealthier life by making smart financial moves that build legacies. And in keeping with Standard Bank's commitment to help clients live a wealthier life, Standard Bank Private believes that true wealth includes security, peace of mind, and freedom from financial threats. So to find out more, let us chat to the head of digital fraud at Standard Bank, Ethan Shetto, right here on 702. And Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. Ethan, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Relebogile. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I am doing well. And I have to say, you really look like the head of digital fraud. And I want to encourage everybody to go to YouTube and go onto our channel. You'll be able to see this show that is streaming live and to see if you were to have a problem with fraud, this man looks like the one who is in charge. Ethan, thank you so much for joining us. And I kind of want to get an idea from your side. What does it take to be the head of digital fraud? So for somebody in your role, what are the expertise you need to have to be where you are? And the reason I really want to get an understanding is because I think we might not have a true appreciation for the type of work you have to do if we're expecting you to be one step ahead of the scammers.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. I think it's important that fraud is ever evolving and it's continuously changing. So we have to be agile. We have to have the ability to move fast, act fast, and respond effectively. So we always on 24/7. You need to be agile. You need to be able to change to new evolving moduses that are coming up. And I guess just that basic, ever diverse, ever changing culture that we need to have in trying to detect these fraud emos and these fraudsters.
Can you just take a seat slightly closer to your microphone? Like, there we go. Is
that better?
Yes, much better. Okay. In terms then of how, let's say over the past decade, has your job become significantly harder with how you don't have to, I remember I would say, let's say in the 90s, if ever there would be like, oh, this person's a hacker, it's such a rare thing.
Yes.
Now anyone can go online and figure out how to, is the term even still hacker?
So there is a term still hacker, and our job has definitely become much, much harder. I think with the ever evolving techniques of fraud and with the amount of AI and amount of data that's out there, we've seen new insurgencies and new moduses and new ways of fraudsters trying to trick clients into defrauding them over the years. I guess in the past we were dealing with a lot of the card fraud type of fraud scenarios whereby they were trying to obtain card details. That has evolved to more digital type of crimes whereby compromise of credentials and keeping your information safe has been extremely important. So the fraud has definitely moved. It's not what we were seeing in the past. It's more sophisticated. It's more driven by technology, and it's ever evolving. What we were dealing yesterday doesn't necessarily happen today. So we have to constantly shift, look at new technologies to be able to curb these sort of attacks. And I guess as clients build their wealth as well, you're looking to protect that wealth and make sure that we have strategies in place to protect clients' wealth.
If we are to look at, let's say, 30 years ago, what is that film called? Swordfish, because that character was the hacker, right? Just so we are aligned with where we are, because I think sometimes when it comes to technology, we either think in terms of Back to the Future, where something goes in the microwave and then it's big.
Yes.
We're never really in touch with where we are. So paint a picture for us. In the 90s, 30 years ago, when you would hear that somebody stole 1 cent off of every bank account, and it was this big deal, versus today somebody stealing 1 cent off of every bank account. In terms of realistically, where are we in terms of the tech to do that and the kind of security we have? Because to me, stealing 1 cent off of every, let's say, Standard Bank client bank account, you could still, in today's age, get away with it in the sense that every client wouldn't notice 1 cent gone. Maybe you guys from a security perspective would notice, but maybe share with us 30 years ago and today, where is the tech that would raise the alarm bells unless somebody was saying, hey, I just noticed this 1 cent. That's not balancing in my books.
So I'll firstly talk to some of the scams that we are seeing today. There's been a sharp increase in your investment type scams, your malware attacks, as well as whereby you'd receive a call from a financial institution requesting you to move funds and create panic, what we deem as vishing. So create the panic, provide you with a lot of information about your personal information,
and then request that you take action by swiftly moving funds to another bank account to protect yourself. With some of the malware attacks, they would share malware via QR codes, via links. Once the client has clicked on that particular link or QR code, it exposes their full device with all of the information on their device. So the fraud that we were seeing 30 years ago and the fraud that we're seeing today is more sophisticated. The technologies that we utilize to prevent and to help clients protect themselves against fraud there's a host of technologies that we use. We use sophisticated risk engines to identify malicious behavior that is happening, looking at transactions that are out of line in terms of activity that the customer would normally process. There's what we've introduced because of the phishing modus or the phishing attack. We've introduced technologies that look at when you're on a call with your bank, it would indicate that you are speaking to somebody from Standard Bank, which helps the customer identify whether they've been scammed or whether they are speaking to a legitimate person from a bank. There's many other technologies that we utilize in terms of managing the risk around location services, trying to identify where you are processing the transaction from and is that out of line in terms of your location. So the technology is moving, but the fraudsters are also moving just as fast.
And I mean, I would imagine that right now, because the tech is getting better and the security systems are getting so good, that when they now kidnap you and force you to empty your bank account, it's because their skills are not able to bypass the systems that are already there.
Correct.
So in that case, can you chat to me about your affluent clients and how and why they get targeted? Because not everybody is flashy. Not everybody is just driving around their fancy car. But we are hearing more and more about these horror stories of people being targeted.
Yes, definitely. I think affluent clients get targeted because they're high value targets. Scammers utilize social engineering to build trust with them and manipulate these victims into sharing sensitive information and transferring funds. So we're also finding that with regard to a lot of the data breaches and a lot of the information that's been breached, fraudsters are able to obtain this information and utilize it to social engineer clients. And just with regard to the affluent customers, they are seen as high value targets because of their affluent status. And that often is why they've been targeted by fraudsters.
And that becomes so tricky. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we continue in this masterclass and get your questions in for Ethan, specifically around scams and the things that fraudsters are doing, but also with regards to the things your bank should be doing and how it is that you can protect yourself even better. 18 minutes after 2 o'clock.
Saddle up for springtime success with Hollywood Bears. Experience the thrill of the turf and take a shot at a share of 100,000 Rand in cash and betting vouchers. All you have to do is bet 50 Rand or more on any horse racing meeting online or visit your nearest branch to enter. Spring into action and bet now for your shot at exciting rewards. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
This is Jade. She'll spend hours comparing almond milk and once made a spreadsheet just for sneakers. But when she found Santam, SA's leading short-term insurer that offers a range of cover options from vehicle to building and home contents, even she didn't overthink it. The kind of freedom Santam gives you takes some getting used to. Speak to your broker. Santam, this is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
Mzansi, the wait is finally over. The Great South African Sale is here. Explore more for less with up to 50% off travel deals. Surf the waves, hike the hills, enjoy Gasi, and explore the wild. Book from 8 to 14 September 2025. Visit shortleft.co.za to book now and travel later. After all, it's your country. Enjoy it. Because nothing's more fun than a short left. Hashtag TravelWise Mzansi. T's and C's apply.
One festival, endless flavor, and 2 unforgettable days of timeless music. The DSTV Delicious International Food and Music Festival, powered by Lotto Star, returns on 20 and 21 September at Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit. On Saturday, the stage erupts with Don Toliver, Questa, and Nkabi Zezwe. Then on Sunday, experience the legendary Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, Lyra, and more. The DSTV Delicious Festival, powered by Lotto Star. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
You're experiencing the vision, purpose, and success on the masterclass with the Relebogile Mabotja, brought to you by Standard Bank Private on 702.
21 minutes after 2 o'clock, we continue with our masterclass that we are doing together with Standard Bank Private. And we are chatting to the head of digital fraud at Standard Bank, Ethan Sherto. How exactly can we protect our wealth? 011 8830702 in the WhatsApp line, 072 702 1702. Ethan, we've touched on the different types of scams that people are doing lately. I want to understand, and I mean, you went into the vishing and all of those things. There are other things that people are doing that maybe we're not aware of. Because I saw the scammers the other day that made me laugh my head off. In the subject, it said one bank, but the graphics in the email was Standard Bank's graphics. I was like, you scammers are getting lazy, right? But what are some of the other things that maybe we're not paying attention to that somebody at your level would look at? For me, you see, okay, the email maybe is not correct. You see the graphics look a bit funny, but you as an expert pay attention. And I'm also mindful of the fact that we can't give away your secrets because there are people listening who are like, yes, tell us more.
So there's a few things that we want to get across to clients is never click on any unsolicited links. Never, if you're not expecting to do anything with a QR code, never scan the QR code. There's often requests to provide your OTPs or provide your banking credentials. We would never ask you to do any of that. We would never ask you to move your hard-earned funds into another bank's account or into another secure account if it wasn't, if on the back of a fraud case or on the back of a fraud transaction. So there's a few things that clients should never do. Also, the panic that the fraudsters create on those particular calls is often leveraged with personal information and providing you with that information. So even if you've got it, even if they provided you with all of your personal information, we as a bank would never ask you to move your funds into a secure account. We could do it on our own if we wanted to.
Can we take a step back? How is it? Because that's the part that convinces you, right? Yes. When you say to yourself, but they had my ID and they have my middle name, which I've told nobody. And on top of that, they even mentioned not just my current address, even my previous address and my previous number. So that is convincing. Maybe share with us about the fact that that information is easy to get. It is not the telltale sign that it's your bank.
Correct. I mean, the information that they're providing you with is information that's widely available. And we've also seen that many people want to share a lot of information on social media, present a lot of the information and some of the factual information about who they are. Fraudsters leverage that and utilize that information to deceive you into believing that they are from your financial institution. We also know that in the past there's been many data breaches, and in those data breaches there's been financial and information relating to personal information about clients.
And those data breaches could be from anywhere, right? We know that it's happened. I think TransUnion was one of them. There's a whole lot of places where the data breaches, meaning our public information, which would be pertaining to whatever we FICA, we RICA, we this, is out there anyways.
It's out there. And I mean, we're living in an environment whereby data is so important and data is everywhere. So with those data breaches, often you'd find that many of us and many of our information is out there in the open for fraudsters to utilize. Fraudsters also trade on the dark web. They buy and sell this information. So where the information is there, they would often look to buy the information. And I think it's important to keep your information extremely secure, but just note that it doesn't matter if they've got all of your information. It's important that we will never ask you to do certain things. And I think that message needs to land home with our listeners.
Please remind everybody especially those who don't know, what is the dark web?
So the dark web is a very suspicious place. So it's basically the web. So like how we use the normal internet, but this is where bad actors often utilize the dark web to move and sell and to get information about individuals.
So in essence, it's like a place you can go on the internet where usually bad guys go to do very illegal things,
Correct.
Not just with regards to fraud, even things like child pornography, all of the things that are illegal, and you're able to navigate that space with people who can connect you with anything, anywhere, and you can roam around unseen, if that makes sense. In case anybody's wondering, why does somebody not just shut it down? Because there are a whole lot of things that can divert you can't just trace the IP address and things like that.
Yes, it's created exactly for that. So you can go unseen, not share your IP address, not share your information, and that's exactly why they utilize it. It's because it's so so illicit and it's so out there, and nobody can gain access or see exactly what you're doing. So that's exactly where they play.
And I think what's also scary, I only just thought about it now. I used to think about the dark web as a place where like the teenagers in the US would be able to get access to things to build a bomb, for example. But I'm realizing you could just go to the dark web and pay someone to teach you how to do what they do, which is all of these things. If we are now to come back to some of, I mean, you mentioned the QR codes, you mentioned never sharing your OTP, you mentioned voucher codes and things like that. What are some of the other things the bank would never ask you to do? I mean, obviously giving your PIN is the given, but
Yes.
sometimes, and I'm not sure if this is the case, if they want to verify you, so maybe differentiate. There's the ones where the bank maybe wants to verify you by saying put your PIN in on the phone. What's the difference between that and what a scammer would do?
So the difference between that is we will utilize the banking platforms for you to do that. We would never ask you for all of your personal information and your credentials. So we would never ask you to provide us with your login banking details or with your OTP in order for you to do that. We would authenticate you and request that you maybe go into your banking app and confirm that you are who you are and authenticate via your banking app. We may present you with an SMS to authenticate you via SMS authentication, or we may ask you a series of questions relating to who you are based on the information that we have, secure information that we've got, and authenticate you in that way. The things that are important and the things that the bank would never ask you to do is we would never, like I said, ask you to move your funds. We would never ask you to share your OTP. We would never ask you to click on a particular link or malicious link. We would also never ask you to, when you're downloading an app, download it from for instance, WhatsApp. It would always be from the App Store, from the reputable App Store that you'd need to download these apps. So often what we find is, especially with some of these investment scams, is they provide you or they call you and they provide you with all your information. They request that you'll get lucrative investment returns. And on the back of that, you need to download this application where you'd be able to trade and earn funds. That application would be seen as completely non-existent, completely a rogue application whereby fictitious funds will be displayed in that application and essentially fake. So what we would always advise you, if you are downloading apps, make sure that you download it from reputable app stores and from your iOS app stores or from your Android app stores, and not just from links that were shared with you via WhatsApp or any calls or anything like that.
There was something you had mentioned that I just wanted to get clarity on, but what I'll do is I'll chat to you about it when we come back from the news, just in terms of, you touched on the part of one of the tactics is to share all your information and then also to make you panic.
Yes.
In real life, if the bank did see an issue, you were going to stop it yourselves, right?
Correct.
So if ever somebody said, please quickly move your money, like my question would be like, you move it, you're the bank, you're sitting with my money.
That's exactly it. If we had to identify anything suspicious, we would have the ability to block that particular transaction or to make sure that we inform you that there's something suspicious. We would not create panic. And I think if you look at how the call happens is they would initiate a call to you, provide you with all of your personal information. indicate that there's a particular fraudulent transaction that has taken place. Often they would send you a message or send you some form of communication that looks like the bank's communication. And then they would quickly say, we're noticing excessive activity, often speaking like the bank, referring to terms that the bank would utilize. And thereafter they would say, in order for you to protect your funds quite quickly, we need you to move your funds into a secure account. That secure account is, they'll provide you with all of the steps. They would even ask you to log onto your banking app and facilitate all of the steps in order for you to move that funds. So they would tell you, create a beneficiary. This is the account number that you need to provide.
And it happens though, because you're panicked.
And it happens because our clients are panicked and they're thinking that there's something wrong. They're worried about their funds that are sitting in those accounts, and they would move the funds into a so-called secure account.
All right, we're going to go to the news. When we come back, we continue. It's just after 2:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. The Hawks have announced a new investigation into explosive claims that a large-scale Chinese trafficking syndicate is operating in the country. The commitment came on the sidelines of sentencing, where 7 Chinese nationals were each handed a 20-year jail term for human trafficking, kidnapping and forced labor. The group, who operated under the company Beautiful City, were linked to the kidnappings of 91 Malawians, 37 of whom were children, forcing them to work in a Johannesburg factory in 2019. Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption is concerned that time is running out and it might only get testimony from KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in October. The committee is now considering changing its terms of reference to allow it to get evidence from other witnesses before Mkhwanazi, who is currently listed as the first witness. The committee received a progress report today as it prepares to start its hearings later this month. And residents in Westbury are calling for a permanent solution to the area's water crisis. The community has been struggling with intermittent supply for weeks now, with taps running completely dry on some days. Angry residents have again taken to the streets today, blocking roads with rocks and burning tires. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, in the Melrose area at this hour, we still have slow-moving traffic. This is on Glenhove Road between Oxford and the M1. Also traveling through the Joburg CBD, traffic is a bit sluggish. On the M1 southbound, this is approaching Empire Road. Leaving Devlin, heading towards Eldorado Park, we still have those roadworks on the Golden Highway between the N1 and Union Avenue. And finally, look out for those faulty traffic lights, Rand Park Ridge at Bearsnodia and the N1. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
This is Leanne from Pretoria. 702 is my companion on my drive to work and home from work every day. They keep me up to date with loads of important information on the news of the world, but also lots of other interesting facts. And I always arrive at work and saying, guess what I heard on the radio today? So I think my staff know me as, guess what I heard on the radio today, whenever I arrive at work, thanks to 702.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts,
so we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
The South African Local Government Association, that is SALGA, is hosting the International City, County and Municipal Managers Global Exchange Program, which is taking place in Johannesburg from now until the 12th of September. The program brings together municipal leaders from across the world to share knowledge and practical solutions to common local government challenges.
Zinzi, the Gen Z. Word on the street is you sold your car.
Yes, and I needed a glow up. Hashtag no hustle, no hassle.
So wait. The influencer got influenced by We Buy Cars.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And they came to me. They checked the car, they gave me an offer. Oh, and they paid me immediately. Easier than an Insta Live, without the weird DMs at 2 a.m.
I didn't understand half of the things you just said, but hey, We Buy Cars. Geared for the glow up, geared for you.
Insurance pulls you in. Pineapple pulls you under. Insurance Pineapple. Insurance. Pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
The BCCSA is calling for nominations. Do you know someone with broadcasting expertise? Nominate them to serve as a commissioner for a 4-year term starting 1 January 2026. Send a short CV and motivation to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. Nominations close 19 September 2025. Visit www.bccsa.co.za for more info. Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. John, it was quite a heavy show for us at the top as we were talking about that situation, and I'm so defeated because outside of it almost feels like things are not getting better for us, like as a whole. And then we can't imagine what that will do then for individuals, for situations. I mean, I saw messages of people sharing how, their neighbor took their own life, that they were burying them recently in somebody else. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I think the state of the mental health in this country is in shambles, but that's also because the country in certain aspects is in shambles.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, I'm not expert on this, but I would think, firstly, people feel powerless, and people feel that they've been treated with incredible levels of unkindness by the circumstances around us. I was listening very carefully to the conversation and the very important things you were saying, and what we're going to do about it on the show is we want to talk to people who do the kind of counseling that you were referring people to at the end of that segment of your show. Because I would imagine they have to be incredibly resilient as well as being extraordinarily skilled. So I'm looking forward to that conversation somewhere around 4:10. And
I really
to get some
hope
insights in how do you prepare yourself for the evening session or whatever it is, or the day's work. But secondly, how do you deal with it as you make your way home?
And I think what will be great as well, and I'd be curious to find out, is what is the main goal? I remember when I started going to therapy and I was chatting to my therapist, who was a clinical psychologist, and I said, how do you feel about being called a shrink? And he said he hates that term, but unless it's about shrinking problems.
Yes.
So I'd be curious to know, because my understanding of therapy is always just changing perspective as to what is their objective when they go into these. Obviously, with crisis, it's not the same.
Yes.
But that I'd be curious about, because at the end of the day, we all may have to be a counselor to someone in crisis. We hear the stories of somebody about to jump off a bridge and somebody standing there begging them not to do it. We hear of those seeing a stranger trying to jump in front of a truck. We all need to have those tools within us, and I would be so curious to hear from them what they advise so we can all support one another better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lots to learn.
Definitely. What else is coming up on your show today?
So, very, very high levels of gang violence in the Western Cape. This is not brand new, but my sense is it's reaching maybe not a single peak, but particular peaks. And I'm just wondering what's happening there that we need to better understand. Karen Dolly is very, very familiar and insightful on that, and she'll be joining us at 4:10. Minding Your Money, we do it every Wednesday. Lots and lots of unclaimed money out there. Insurance premiums, benefits, unclaimed pension benefits, and so on. Paul Rulofs is going to have some advice for us on how we can collect our own, but crucially, how we can guide people who could really do with the money to actually go out and collect it. So that and a whole lot more.
702 Drive with John Perlman coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. Again, 0800 567 567 are the numbers you can contact for the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. And you can also go lifelinesa.co.za. The number, the National Counselling Line, 0861 322 322.
How are you making financial moves to secure a wealthier life? Find out on the masterclass with Relebogile Mabotja, brought to you by Standard Bank Private on 702.
20 minutes to 3 o'clock, and we continue with our masterclass Together Standard Bank Private. We're talking about protecting your wealth with Ethan Sherto, who is the head of digital fraud at Standard Bank. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. I am curious, is there, outside of digital fraud, what are the other kinds of fraud that you have dedicated departments to at Standard Bank?
So what we've got is we've got the credit card fraud department. So that deals with a lot of the credit card fraud. And then digital fraud is closely intertwined with scams such as your good scam, your investment type scams, your other types of scams in terms of banking or change of banking details scams, all perpetrated through digital banking, but essentially different areas or different focuses within Standard Bank.
Okay, and I think it's good to know that when we speak digital fraud, it is very specific to these types of situations that we've been referring to. We've got a voice note that's come through on 072 702 1702. Okay, we're getting to that voice note, and we'll be able to just address some of your questions that are coming through on the line. In terms of if you do suspect there's been fraud on your account, what is it that one should do? And maybe share with us what is the thing that would possibly make you suspect. I think for me, I once saw, it happened actually while I was on air talking about fraud, the irony, and I saw multiple transactions that were all for exactly 500 Rand each, and the reference just said Uber. There were like 30 of them, and I just remember looking at this thinking, something ain't right. What should we be looking out for, and what do we do when we suspect fraud?
So I think it's important to visit your banking app to make sure that you continuously look at the transactions on your banking app. If you suspect fraud, there's no harm in immediately double checking and calling the Standard Bank line to make sure that there hasn't been any transactions, and just making sure that your credentials are safe. And at any point, if you suspect fraud, you can contact your private banker, or you can contact your banker, or just call Standard Bank just to make sure that everything is above board with regard to your accounts.
Okay, now when we look at wealth protection and it fitting into the holistic wealth management strategy, let's chat about that for a bit. How does that all work?
I think it all fits together because essentially, as you build wealth throughout your career and throughout your life, you don't want that wealth to be let go quite easily. You want to make sure that you entrust it with safe financial institutions and that you protect your wealth. And it fits in tightly with the protecting of your funds or making sure that you don't get defrauded. We work very hard, and we work very hard to build and to build for our families and our legacies, and just taking our families forward. And that is important just to make sure that we protect that, and it ties in well with the conversation around fraud and better protecting your funds or your hard-earned money.
All right. I'm going to your questions on the WhatsApp line. The one is from Precious in Bedfordview, says, thank you so much for the informative show. Please, can I suggest if your guest can just tell us what to study for their profession? I think this can help young people towards career guidance. Nice one, Precious. And I agree, I'm sure we need more fraud fighters, superheroes that have glasses and not capes to help us out. What does one need to study?
I think it's important. Studying any financial qualification is important, but there's dedicated qualifications in terms of fighting financial fraud. So if you look at some of the recent programs that are out there, there's also the Certified Fraud Examiners, which offers potential qualifications in terms of fraud and specific directing it to specific fraud. There's also many other qualifications, but I think it's just around the financial qualifications and also looking at dedicated qualifications that are focused on fraud risk management. They are definitely out there.
Another question says, is there any worry when these scammers ask you questions and want a yes or no answer? Are they possibly trying to record our voices in any way? That's from Alex. And that's a good question because we know now of deep fakes and how they can manipulate a phone call or even a video call.
It's definitely something that's worrying us. It's definitely something that we're giving a lot of thought to. We haven't necessarily seen a lot of deep fakes, and we haven't necessarily seen these types of MOs come to the fore. but it's definitely something that we are focusing on. I think it's just important that if you are concerned at any point in time, there's no harm in dropping the call and making sure that you don't provide information, or you don't give out your voice or your picture, or any of your personal information for that matter. So if at any point in time you are under pressure or you do feel that something is wrong, there's nothing stopping you from stopping at that point and then just double checking the information.
Isn't it funny how now we're in the era of people saying it's probably safer to just hide your banking apps or just not have them. Now we're like, let's just go back to walking into the bank because of how these scammers are getting so good. We're going to take another break. Your questions, 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line, 072 702 1702.
Oh, hello. Let's do a little word association. I'll say some phrases, you see how they make you feel. Retirement, credit card balance, another interest rate hike. Still calm? Well then, you've got the F Factor. It's that special something that comes from having a clear financial plan to manage and protect your finances. If you broke into a sweat, you probably don't have it yet. Visit livewithconfidence.co.za to up your F Factor. Sanlam. Live with confidence. T's and C's apply. Sanlam Life is a licensed life insurer and authorized FSP.
Across South Africa, municipalities are under pressure to deliver better services and restore public trust. The International City and County Managers Global Exchange Program and the Talent Management Seminar give municipal leaders the chance to learn from their international counterparts and to share South Africa's own solutions on the global stage. Stronger leadership means stronger communities.
It's that time of the year. Sneezing, itchy, watery eyes, blocked noses and coughs. It's time to live, work, play and sleep allergy-free. For trusted relief for you and your family this allergy season, ask your pharmacist for the Adcock Ingram OTC Allergy Survival Pack. With products like Allergex Non-Drowsy, Cetisid, Levogex and more, we have you covered. Remember, Adcock Ingram OTC. And visit beprepared365.co.za.
Running a business is tough. You need tools that just work. That's why more South African businesses are switching to Mac. At iStore, we make it easy with 4,000 rands in added value when you switch. That's 3 years extended warranty and remote tech support, leaving you to focus on everything else. Switch to Mac with iStore, your expert partner. T's and C's apply. Mac at iStore. Run smooth as business should.
702.
Masterclass.
We continue in our masterclass at 12 minutes to 3 o'clock together with Standard Bank Private. And we are chatting all about protecting your wealth with Head of Digital Fraud at Standard Bank, Ethan Sherto, 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. In terms of technology and innovation, what role do they play in protecting affluent clients from evolving fraud threats? Because we know they change almost on a daily.
Technology is extremely important for us in preventing fraud and helping our clients prevent fraud. If you look at some of the award features that we've created on our banking app, I think we spoke about it earlier. The ability to identify whether a call is coming through from your bank or from Standard Bank, we call that feature the trust call feature. So in the event that you do receive a call from somebody and they're saying it's from your bank, you can log on to your banking app and it will indicate that it is a trusted call. It will indicate the person that is calling you. And if it isn't a bank calling you, we would also tell you that this is an untrusted call and please either call the fraud line or log off your banking app at that point in time. We're also exploring and we've implemented quite a few risk engines on our platforms to make sure that where we see unusual activity or where we see malicious logins, we're able to detect that and we're able to pick up and identify whether it's fraud. So technology is becoming important in giving us these risk signals to be able to identify the fraud and just better protect our clients. We also are close to launching and have just recently launched a feature called Trusted Person or Trusted Party. And what that allows you to do is if there's any transaction that's going off your account, you're able to get somebody that you trust to authorize the transaction. So if you think about a customer that's elderly or that is susceptible to these types of fraud instances, you can get them or you can allow them or allow somebody to authorize that transaction on behalf of the person. So that's a fantastic feature that's coming up, and we implore our clients to take up these features And whatever security features the banks offer going forward, it's there to protect you, not to obtain your information or not to look at you or harm you in any way. It's basically to protect you and utilize that information to better protect you against fraud. And those are some of the security features that we're employing and some of the technologies we're utilizing. We also in the world of AI at this point in time, so we're utilizing AI to identify a lot of these fraudulent actors and a lot of these fraudulent transactions. And I think that's just important that we move with the times in terms of technology to leverage and make sure that we better prevent fraud for our customers.
In terms of the financial loss, I mean, we know that is quite straightforward. What are the other hidden costs to you being caught out and falling victim to this kind of fraud?
Yeah, I think it ties in nicely with your earlier conversation. The emotional trauma that victims go through when they are defrauded is immense. If you think about somebody losing 300,000 rand, their life savings, there's a lot of trauma that goes into something like that. So it's not just the financial implications, but it's the emotional implications of the victims of fraud. It creates panic, and it creates victims are distraught post these events. And I think it ties in nicely with what you were speaking about earlier around mental wellness and making sure that your mental health is important as well. So they closely tied in.
I think it's also realizing that like we said, it isn't just about the money and what the money can do for you, what you plan, but it's what you put in for it. Yes. We spoke off air about Beekeeper and how you'd have these people that are saving for retirement. They've made plans, they've worked hard, and then all of a sudden it is just done and gone. And we can see why a person might feel like their life is completely over with something like this happening to them. We've got more of your questions coming through on 072 702 1702.
Hey, Relebogile. As a person who was, a victim of the kidnapping syndicate, where they transacted and transferred, withdrew, and even took out a loan, because obviously my banking landing page has offers on it where you just click and you access the money. The bank needs to do something better about that. I know if I speak to my banker, I will get a loan if I need one. I shouldn't be taking out a loan at 3 a.m. in the morning. And also, if there was a feature that where you can enter your banking PIN digits, in reverse, that alerts the bank that you're not doing the transaction, but the transaction still goes through, that would help.
Oh, would you like to respond to that?
I think firstly, thank you for all the insights and thank you for sharing your experience. I'm terribly sorry to hear about your incident. The features that you're speaking around and the convenience of your banking apps. So we're in a very difficult position at this point in time whereby we're trying to make banking a lot simpler and a lot easier for our clients. And I think we are exploring the opportunities around looking at some of the features for these contact crimes or kidnapping incidents. What's difficult for financial institutions at this point in time is that how do we protect you as a customer, but also not endanger your life at that point in time? So some of the items that we're exploring around these contact crime scenarios or kidnappings has to make sure that we preserve life and not create more difficult situations for the victims. So we often put tactics in place to stop that activity. It is the victim's life at risk, and you want to make sure that you prevent or preserve life at all cost in those scenarios. So I thank you for all your suggestions. It is definitely items that we are working on. But I think it's also just important that we note that the preservation of life is important in those contact crime scenarios.
Oh, preservation of life all the time. Here's another voice note on 0727021702.
Hi, Lebza and Timothy here. I was the victim of digital fraud, by the very same Uber you're talking about. And lucky enough, it was Standard Bank that picked that up. They are the ones who sent me an SMS. The transaction that they picked up was something for 4,000 couple of hundreds. And now they're fine. They asked me, so do I know this transaction? It's something like this unauthorized transaction has bounced back. Do you know anything about it? I said no. Okay, I don't remember what happened, but they didn't ask me for any of my banking details. Okay, fine. They blocked the account. They did it on their side. They blocked it. And then when I got home, I checked for some more, only to find that there were previous transactions that went through, and I didn't see them. And then opened the case and did all that was requested. Believe you me, Lebza, my man was paid back fully, you know.
All right. I'm glad you have a testimony here. How is it that some transactions fraudulent can be flagged and others aren't?
Yeah, it's important. We look at various parameters to identify these types of fraudulent transactions. And I think in her scenario, the transaction that was flagged was probably a suspicious transaction that we had deemed suspicious at that point in time. And that's why it was flagged and picked up as potential fraud. You can imagine that you attempt to catch all of the fraud, but in all scenarios, you'd never be able to identify all of the transactions and make sure that they're fraudulent. So it is a constant item of changing rules and making sure that we adapt to the new frauds that we're seeing. And this is our daily job, what we do every single day. We look at what is the previous frauds that we've seen, how do we better detect it, do we implement new technologies, can we do something from a rules perspective to identify new or out-of-line activity at that point in time, and we make the changes as quickly as possible. So great story, and happy that it worked out, and we continuously change as we see new shifts and new moduses.
How can families just start to build a culture of fraud awareness, making sure that your partners, spouses, children, even your employees are aligned in protecting wealth?
So I think this topic around fraud is a lot about awareness. It's a lot about creating awareness and making sure that people are aware of what's out there. If you look at visiting our banking platforms to be able to see the new shifts and trends that we're picking up from a fraud perspective, you can essentially visit visit our security center, or you can even contact your banker. But I think it's important that families create awareness. Your kids are never too young to understand that bad actors are out there. Similar to how we deal with crime, and similar to how we deal with some of the other challenges that we have as a society, it's important that we create that awareness from a young age within families, have the discussion about fraud, make sure that you understand how to better protect yourself, understand what does the banking app offer you, how do you view your transactions, and just create that awareness across the families. And I think if we do more of that, we'll able to better protect and fight this fraud fight.
There's a message here that says, Relebogile, I deleted my banking apps where my income goes into and that are linked to my credit card. The apps that I have are just for small savings account. It's been 10 years, Madimpo in Pretoria. I'm so happy you're able to be in that position. It isn't the case for everybody that has to be transacting while on the go. I just think if you can share with us the final thoughts, how not just your high net worth people can take care of themselves and protect their wealth, but all of us. Just your final thoughts on protecting our wealth.
I think just the final thoughts of protecting your wealth is look after your money and make sure that you verify anything that you are doing. If it is done on your banking app, do the necessary due diligence, check the transactions, make sure that you adopt the bank security features to better protect yourself, and just be safe and be vigilant out there. Never act on any instructions that are given. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. Protect your finances, and if ever you're in doubt, contact your bank or call the number on the back of your card to ensure that you verify the transactions. Just be vigilant out there and be safe with your financial accounts.
Standard Bank has a 24/7 fraud line, 0800 222 050. You can go to standardbank.co.za/security center. Now catch us again next week on the Masterclass with me, Relebogile Mabotja, brought to you by Standard Bank Private on 702. We'll be delving into the journeys of extraordinary individuals who are designing a wealthier life, making smart financial moves that build legacies just like you can with the right partner. Because Standard Bank Private understands that success goes beyond numbers. It's about living a fuller, wealthier life with vision, purpose, and personalized support every step of your journey. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. On that note, thank you for joining us. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Authorities to probe fresh allegations of a trafficking syndicate in South Africa. An alleged Usindiso building arsonist changes his tune. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The Hawks have announced a new investigation after explosive claims that a large-scale Chinese trafficking syndicate is operating in the country. The commitment came on the sidelines of sentencing to Chinese trafficking syndicate is operating in the country. The commitment came on the sidelines of sentencing today, where 7 Chinese nationals were each handed a 20-year jail term for human trafficking, kidnapping and forced labor. The group who operated under the company Beautiful City were linked to the kidnappings of 91 Malawians, 37 of whom were children who were forced to work in a Johannesburg factory in 2019. Mongezi Gogo reports.
In this country, in this
Courtroom drama broke out after the verdict when the daughter of accused number 6, Nancy Chow, alleged that her family had been framed. She claimed a kingpin is the real mastermind running a syndicate that brings illegal foreigners into the country. Now the Hawks say they are